Today we're going to talk about el pretérito y el imperfecto, when we use the preterite, when we use the imperfect, and why. That's not. El pasado en español. En español podemos usar el pretérito o el imperfecto o los dos, depende en la frase y el significado en contexto. In Spanish, we can use the preterite or the imperfect, or we can use both in one sentence, and it all depends on the sentence and what it means and within context. El pretérito lo usamos con acciones completadas. We use the preterite with completed actions. We know when the action starts or finishes, or both. El pretérito con acción completada. Here's an example. El sábado, la clase comenzó a las 10 de la mañana. On Saturday, class started at 10 o'clock. In blue, you will see your key word, el sábado. That's a key expression that tells you it took place only one time. It took place on Saturday, and the class is over. Therefore, we use the preterite. Here's another example of completed action. Él caminó por el parque el otro día. In blue, you can see the expression, the key word, or the key expression that's going to indicate the preterite. El otro día, the other day. The action is finished. It is completed. Therefore, we use the preterite. Ayer escribí 3 cartas. You can tell in blue you have the key word, ayer. What does that mean? Yesterday. Can you tell me why it is that it's the preterite? That's right. The action has already finished. Therefore, it's the preterite. El pretérito secuencia de eventos en el pasado. We also use the preterite when we're talking about a sequence of events in the past. That means that one action takes place after another and another. Sometimes you only need 2 actions for it to be a sequence of events. In this example, cuando llegamos, la profesora sacó su pintura y sus pinceles y empezó a pintar. You can see in red that we have 3 actions, and one took place right after the other. When we arrived, the teacher took out her paint and her paintbrushes and began to paint. 3 actions took place, one right after another. Sequence of events, that means pretérito. El imperfecto lo usamos con acciones habituales. No sabemos cuándo empezó o terminó la acción, used to o would, y con descripciones físicas de lugar, de cosas, de emoción, de situaciones, la hora, el tiempo, edad, humor. So with the imperfect, we use the imperfect for 2 different reasons. Number 1, to talk about a habitual action that took place in the past. That means that it repeated itself. And the key element here is that we don't know when the action started or when the action finished. The equivalent in English is used to or would. When you're talking about your past, for instance, as you did in your projects in class, you don't know exactly what day, but you know that you used to like to skate or to dance or whatever it is that you used to like to do. We don't have a specific day. Therefore, it's a habitual action. And the meaning in English is used to or would. Also, when we do any kind of description of the past, whether it's a physical description, place, a description of a place, a thing, emotion, situations, the time, the weather, age, or mood. These are descriptions that take place in the past, and we use the imperfect for those. Let's talk about the first one, give some examples of that. Acción habitual, habitual action. De niña vivía en México. Or I could have also said, cuando era niña vivía en México. As a child, when I was a child, I used to live in Mexico. So you have that translation in English. Cuando era joven, me gustaba jugar afuera. When I was young, I used to like to play outside. When was it exactly in time? I don't know. It was when I was young. Therefore, I'm going to use the imperfect. Here's another example that's a little bit different. It's still habitual action or used to. I'm no longer saying when I was young, cuando era niño. I'm saying los domingos íbamos a la iglesia. Here you have your key word in blue, los domingos. El domingo means on Sunday. Los domingos means on Sundays. So you can see that this action is repeating itself over and over every Sunday. Since it repeats itself, it is, of course, imperfect. Here we have an example of descriptions, any type of description, like these two situations. El hombre estaba en el barco. The man was in the boat. What happened? We don't know what happened. He was just there. We don't know exactly the day or how long it lasted. El estudiante participaba en clase. This is just a description of a situation. Una hora específica. Tiempo. Eran las 10 y yo estaba en mi computadora. Eran las 8 de la noche. Notice that in the first example, I have two verbs there in red. Eran las 10. It was 10 o'clock. I am describing the time. Because I am describing the time, that's why I'm using the imperfect. Notice I used eran versus era because las 10 is 10. If it were 1 o'clock, it would be era. And over here, in that same sentence, yo estaba sola con mi computadora. I was with my computer. That's a description of a situation. And in the other one, I used imperfect because I'm talking about time. Descripciones, características temporales permanentes de personas y de cosas. These are physical or temporary or permanent characteristics of people and things. Let's go ahead and look at this example. Here's this girl. I'm going to describe her. La muchacha tenía el pelo largo y café. I'm talking about the color and the length of her hair. That's a physical description. Tenía 16 años. That's age. Ella no era morena. That's physical description. Y Juana estaba enferma. That's a temporary condition. So any kind of description of this person is going to be in the imperfect.